What is the weirdest thing you have seen that you can't really explain? Before we start with the first story, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Number 10. I was hanging out on the sidewalk in front of a drugstore when some dude walked by, stopped, looked at me, and asked me to think of a card, any card. Then he said you were picturing the 5 of clubs. I was amazed. That's the card I was thinking of. Holy sh*, that's right, I said. The dude just winked and walked away. That's the best magic trick I've ever seen, and it was some rando on the street that I never saw again. I have no clue how he did it, other than some form of subliminal planting of the image in my mind, but that's unreliable. It was a card trick that involved no cards at all. That was the most inexplicable thing I've ever seen. Number 9. In a hospital, the nicer the patient, the worse the prognosis. If they work charities and are really polite, definitely aggressive cancer. If they are rude assholes who sell coke to children, they will live long no matter how sick they are. This is absolutely true for my father. Lived super unhealthy before his double lung transplant, lived just as bad after it, including drugs, a horrible diet and zero exercise. Just had his 10-year anniversary earlier this month. His hospital did 100 transplants the year to get his done. He's the only one still alive. Number 8. About 2018-ish, our at the time roommate asked if we would drive her to the next town or to meet some dude. My wife and I were kind of apprehensive just due to some of the stuff this guy was saying, but we decided we'd go. She even convinced us to stay and watch a movie with them, so f*** it, we started driving. We decided to stop for gas on the way out, grab a drink for the road, but as we were coming around the corner to the gas station, we saw a woman in a white sundress, no shoes, just strolling down the side of the road. She was so close to the middle of the road that I swerved to miss her, then hammered on the brakes, got out, and went to check it. I hit her. Nowhere to be found. No woman, no nothing, and there was nowhere she could have gone to the left or right. I checked under the car, but nothing. We were all pretty rattled but decided we'd keep going. As soon as we pulled into the gas station, the TPNs went off saying the 2 passenger side tires were flat. Sure enough, both valve stems had sheared off. We got the car towed, went home, and called it a night, while later we found out the guy whose house we were supposed to go had got arrested after a search warrant was executed on the property, and they found human remains. I still believe we were saved by the dark-haired woman in the sundress. Number 7. I was on a pretty secluded beach one time. It was boiling hot, 36 degrees Celsius or so. I was sitting in the shade when I noticed a weird figure by the water bending down. The figure looked like a person who was covered in very heavy clothing that would literally kill someone in this weather. I haven't seen this figure approach from anywhere, and from where I was sitting I could see all sides of the beach. Anyway, I felt this horrible sense of dread, like something horrible is going to happen to me, but I literally blinked and it disappeared. Now I don't believe in ghosts or the paranormal, even though I had some slightly creepy stuff happen in a couple of old places. I don't drink/take any meds, legal or otherwise, but maybe it was the heat that made me momentarily delirious. I have no idea. Number 6. Had, apparently, a sleep hallucination, different from a night terror, and saw a black ichor monster with a crown made of flesh. It ran at me all herky-jerky when it noticed I was awake. I screamed and put the blanket over my head. My mom woke up and ran into the room. It was gone. Looked as real life, just a few feet from me. It was seamless with real life. 20 years later and haven't experienced anything like that before or after. Mom later said she saw a moving shadow in the room before she turned on the light. Number 5. My grandmother swears I was saved by an angel at the beach when I was a baby. Obviously I was way too young to remember, but the way the story goes is we were floating around in the ocean, and a wave knocked little 6-month me off of a raft and away from my grandma. She claimed she panicked and that I was nowhere to be seen. But as she ran to the shore, a freakishly tall old man with wispy gray hair caught her and handed me over. After checking to see if I was okay, she turned to thank him, but says he had vanished completely. Number 4. Once while riding with friends to a disc golf course in the middle of Missouri, we witnessed something I haven't been able to explain. We were going northbound, approaching an interstate overpass that we were going to drive under, when alongside we noticed a man out of control on a bicycle picking up speed, slight downhill, on the shoulder across from us. It was clear that he had no brakes, and at this point his legs were kinda kicked up into the air just out of control. He was nearing the exit ramp to the interstate we were approaching, and I was concerned that without brakes, An exiting car would hit him, but he got through unscathed. Eventually, we passed him and passed under the interstate to stop at a red light. The light turned green and we began again, and we noticed a beat-up old car heading southbound, and someone inside tossed a small red and white Coleman cooler out the passenger side window into the air, with the cooler landing in the ditch next to the road, which was right in front of a Waffle House. The beat-up car continued down the road, passing us by. Just then, the man on the bike with no brakes arrived at the ditch, tosses his bike aside, grabs the cooler and heads into the Waffle House. We just continued northbound to disc golf. I still have no idea what we witnessed. Number 3. When I was about 13 or 14 years old, myself and 2 friends found a house in the middle of the woods that just didn't make sense. We were all neighbors, and along all 3 of our houses was a very large wooded area. It runs a few miles back and becomes a state forest. We had run around these woods plenty of times and even had areas we'd recognize as we went. This particular day, we followed this ravine that was sometimes a stream, but was dry at this time. That part is important, because we followed that same ravine several times after that and never could find the house again. When I say the house didn't make sense, I mean it. It was a white trailer. I'd say a double wide. There was white underpinning along the bottom. It was a poor country area, so that's not uncommon. But it was unusually clean. Like brand new, perfectly white. But that's still not the weird part. It didn't have doors, or windows, or a driveway. We were in the middle of the woods. The entire walk through the woods is full of bushes, thorns, spiderwebs, bugs, vines, logs, wood stuff. But this was a clearing of flat grass, like someone mowed this area. We weren't afraid or anything while we were there. There really wasn't anything remarkable about it, and that's honestly what makes it so weird to think about to this day. We just walked around it for a bit, said it was kind of weird, and we went back on our adventure. Eventually, we all just went home. I'm still friends with both of the other kids. We're in our 30s, and I'm even going to a wedding for one of them this weekend. We talked about it since, and the story still just doesn't add up. My parents still live in that house, and we spent years after that day exploring the woods all the time. Never found it again. Number 2. I was living in my last apartment back in the 90s. I walked in down the hall, turned to go to the bathroom, and got hit in the back with a penny. Nobody else was in the apartment. Number 1. I once saw a clipboard fly off of the hook it hung on and land around 3 feet away. The room was totally still beforehand, no breeze or earthquake or anything. Just hanging up where it always was, then flung across the room for no reason at all. Most boring poltergeist ever. And that's all the 10 best stories. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your similar experience in the comment below. See you in the next video.